In this video, we'll show you how to manage vendors, update vendor data, and how to administer your vendor system. So first of all, when you're logged in, you go to procurement. Procurement is a section where we deal with vendors and everything relating to vendors. So from procurement, we go to create vendor. So if you want to register a new vendor, this is the place for it. So once you are here, you can upload the vendor logo, fill in the first name, last name, company name, and other details as are required. So you want to add a state. If the state is not currently registered, you can click on add to register the state. So but first you must select a country. Then same with city as well. So you have to select a country before you select a state, before you select a city. So you can't select a city without selecting state first. So then for vendor category, it's like the categories, the classification of your vendors. Maybe you have plumbers, electrical suppliers, you have vendors that deal with different things so that you can be able to, maybe you want to see, or maybe you're looking for a replacement vendor who can help you with your electronics or with your electricals. You can easily filter to see them and then pick from the list. So vendor type, for further classification of vendor, you can use vendor type. Then payment terms, this has to do with how you intend to pay your vendors. Then currency, business registration type. So you can play with all of these things and then use it to register your vendors. Then this is where you enter their bank account details. So as soon as you're done, you click on save. Then to view all the vendors you've registered, you come to this table. From this table, you can filter by vendor category to select vendors, okay, who are into one thing or the other, or you can filter by vendor type as well. So I want us to look at any particular vendor so that we can see the things that are applicable. So let's assume we look at this vendor. We want to look at their bio data. So you can see this is where the vendor's bio data is. These are the details filled on the registration form. So from here we can go to their payment statement. But before we go there, you can notice this shows you the total outstanding of the vendor, how much is overdue by what you're owing them, the purchases you've made from this vendor to date. If we go to payment statement, it shows us everything we have purchased from this vendor and how we paid. So go to document. So this way you can upload all documents relating to this vendor just by clicking this add document button. Enter the name of the document, select the file, and then click on save. Then this is where you can enter notes about this vendor by clicking on add notes. Then for every transactions that relate to this vendor, it shows up on this table. All related transactions to this vendor, all purchases, all expenses you've done on this vendor, it shows up on this table. So then we'll go back to list vendors. So we've shown you the view. Whenever you want to view any particular vendor, you can search for the vendor here to pull up his data, and then action button in front of the vendor, you have view, edit, delete. To edit a vendor, you click on the edit button here, and then you can edit this to fill in the proper information. Then go back, you can also delete a vendor by clicking on this delete button. Then it asks you this question. So then the next part is vendor analysis. So this just shows you like a breakdown of different transactions with different vendors. So for instance, you have this vendor, you have the owner, that's the company owner, you have total spend, how much you have spent with this vendor historically. Then the last 30 days, that's the new transactions you've done with this vendor in the past 30 days. Then next payment, more like if there's an expected payment you are supposed to make to the vendor in the future. Then frequency of the transaction, is it a recurring transaction or is it a once transaction? Then total outstanding, all the amount you are owing this vendor across their different invoice transactions. Then latest outstanding, that is the most recent outstanding on the most recent transaction you did with the vendor. It also shows you since 2023, 03, 01. Then the last payment you made to the vendor, you find it here. So that's what this vendor analysis page is for. So you can even export it to Excel if you want. And then for each of these, you go to the action, you can view the vendor, you can view the vendor's bills. So this is how you deal with vendors. For creating vendor bills, that is handled in the accounting section, which will be on a different video. Thank you.